Welcome to worship with Eliot Unitarian Chapel. Wherever you're tuning in from, near or far, whether I can see you on my screen or not, we are so glad you are here. I am Eliot's lead minister, the Reverend Barbara Gadon, and I hope that this is a service that nurtures your spirit. If you're new to Eliot Chapel, we are an intentional community that welcomes all races, all genders, all sexual orientations. We welcome people of all creeds and beliefs, all economic circumstances, and all types of families. Our vision is to create a just world through vibrant, beloved community. If you'd like to connect with us and learn more about our congregation, please look for information at the end of the service. And welcome to Eliot Chapel. Welcome to church, everyone. Our opening words are by the Reverend Richard M. Fuchs. Source of all times and seasons, and of all the seasons of our lives, we gather, thankful for the days that have been, even those that have tried our souls, and hopeful for the days that shall be, even those that shall demand of us the best that we have, of faith and hope and courage. We continue until we become one in all the seasons to come, from the glad renewal of spring to the summer, to autumn days of green and gold and yellow, and the shining colors of fruition and harvest, to the white wisdom days of winter, where all things wait in patience for the change that shall bring forth transformation. Come, let us worship.
Our chalice reading is from Julianne Lepp. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. And may the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and of multiple truths.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Hello, everyone. Now is the time for all ages on April 18th, 2021. Today's story is called The Frog Prince. It's written by Reverend Christopher Bucci and narrated by me, Heather Flick. There once was a little girl who was walking beside a creek when she happened to see a frog that looked very sad. I wonder why that frog is so sad, she asked herself. Then she remembered a story once told by her mother about how a girl had kissed a frog and how the frog had magically turned into a handsome prince. Maybe that is why the frog is so sad. No one will kiss it so that it can become a prince. She decided that she would give the frog a kiss herself. But nothing happened. There was still just a frog sitting in her hand. She set the frog back on the ground and said, "Poor froggy, I'm sorry I couldn't turn you into a handsome prince." The frog replied, "Oh, but you have done something far better. You have made me a happier frog." And the frog hopped off with a great big smile on his face. The end. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the service.
The Woodcarver Poem by Chung Tzu. King, the master carver, made a bell stand of precious wood. When it was finished, all who saw it were astounded. They said it must be the work of spirits. The Prince of Lu said to the master carver, "What's your secret?" King replied, "I'm only a workman. I have no secret. There's only this. When I began to think about the work you commanded, I guarded my spirit, did not expend it on trifles that were not to the point. I fasted in order to set my heart at rest. After 3 days fasting, I had forgotten gain and success. After 5 days, I had forgotten praise and criticism. After 7 days, I had forgotten my body with all its limbs. By this time, all thought of your highness and the court had faded away. All that might distract me from the work had vanished. I was collected in the single thought of the bell stand. Then I went to the forest to see the trees in their own natural state. When the right tree appeared before my eyes, the bell stand also appeared in it, clearly, beyond doubt. All I had to do was put forth my hand and begin. If I had not met this particular tree, there would have been no bell stand at all. What happened? My own collected thought encountered the hidden potential in the wood, and from this live encounter came the work which you ascribed to spirits.
I invite you now to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. If you wish to, you may plant your feet flat on the floor, straighten your spine, close your eyes, and follow your breath. And hear these prayerful words by the Reverend Maureen Killoran. Spirit of all blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. May hope's light guard us and keep cynicism from our hearts. May the energy of laughter build endurance for the dark times of our lives. May creativity's vision grant the possibility of seeing old relationships with new eyes. May the oil of healing keep us from anger's hardness or despair. May the mantle of humility give courage to us to admit when we are wrong. May compassion's loom weave in us the discipline to forgive. May patience help us bear in mind that ours is not the only scale of time. May the flame of justice be a beacon for the choices we must make. May peace be ever in us and sustain our stressful days. Spirit of all blessing, be with us in the ordinariness of our days. Amen.
One of our treasured traditions at Eliot Unitarian Chapel is that we give half of our offertory away every week to an organization in the community that shares our values. And that's why we're so pleased that in the month of April, our shared plate partner is a Red Circle, because the Red Circle shares our value of racial justice and racial equity. This is the vision of a Red Circle: to restore North County to a safe, vibrant, sustainable, and economically sound community that remains diverse. I'm so pleased to be joined with their Executive Director, Erica Williams, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the amazing things that a Red Circle does.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about our story. I think what is so special and unique about a Red Circle is our proximity to the community. We are literally on the ground working alongside the people who live in North County, because we are also North County residents. You know, we did not create a Red Circle to help the people over there. We founded it to help our neighbors, to help our community where we live become a better place to live and grow and thrive.
How has the pandemic impacted you in the work that you do?
So at the beginning of the pandemic last year, we had to cancel several events like so many others, but we were able to pivot to doing work with St. Louis Mutual Aid. And so we were able to address families' needs with groceries and hygiene products, cleaning supplies. In fact, just today I found Lysol on the shelf, so I was so excited to be able to buy that to help our neighbors, get clean and get their houses clean. So Now that we're in this space, we're now working with the COVID-19 vaccine outreach with St. Louis County Department of Public Health. So we're trying to work on making the vaccine more accessible, helping our neighbors trust the vaccine process, and make sure that they have all that they need to actually register and get the vaccine, whether it's internet access, transportation, et cetera.
What does it mean for a congregation like Eliot Chapel to support the work of a Red Circle?
Well, a Red Circle is very collaborative in nature. We strongly believe that we cannot do this work by ourselves in a bubble. And if St. Louis wants to become a better region, we all have to work together. So the fact that Eliot Chapel in Kirkwood is supporting a Red Circle in North County means a lot. And at some point, when we're past the social distance phase, it'd be great for some of the members to come out to a Red Circle to visit our gardens, just to see kind of what we're doing here in the North County region to make this a better place for everyone.
Indeed, we're all waiting for the day that we can be together again. Yeah, thank you so much, Erica. It's been a real pleasure to be with you, and blessings on your work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our goal for the month of April is to raise a total of $1,300, which is $650 for a Red Circle and $650 for the many ministries of Eliot Chapel. Let us be a generous people.
We all go through trials, right? We all go through trials. At a church I once served, there was this couple, Lou and Genevieve. Lou was struck with dementia. His illness went the route that dementia often does. He would forget words and names now and then. And then he would forget about plans that they had made for the next day. And then it progressed some more, and he forgot how to reach the grocery store in their neighborhood, how to drive a car. And at one point, he saw Genevieve in their kitchen and became angry and confused. "Who are you?" he said. "You can't be here. My wife will be very upset." Fortunately, in the beginning, such episodes were sort of like spells, and they would pass, but they would happen again. Genevieve was his caregiver, and I wondered how she did it. I visited them once when he was in an advanced stage, and I was moved just watching her care for him. I was witnessing something, and I watched her remember things for him. He described an imaginary road trip, and she followed right along as if it was real, over and over and over again. Now, she had help, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure she had her moments, plenty of them. Nobody can do this 24/7. But I thought we would all want to do that for someone that we loved. How is it that she came to the place where she could? Not all of us can. Being able to do things like this to the extent that we can, being able to be the kind of person we want to be when it's difficult, when it really counts, is what I consider spiritual maturity. How does someone get there? Well, Rabbi Joel Nickerson shares the story of Rabbi Simcha Bunim, a great Polish rabbi of the early 19th century. And Rabbi Bunim said, everyone must have 2 pockets with a note in each pocket so that they can reach into one or the other, depending on the need. When feeling lowly and depressed, discouraged or disconsolate, one should reach into the right pocket and there find the words, "The universe was created for me." But when feeling high and mighty, one should reach into the left pocket and find the words, "I am but dust and ashes." The phrase, "the world was created for me," Rabbi Nickerson says, comes from a passage in the Talmud about our uniqueness. The passage states that Adam was created alone to teach us that destroying a single human life is like destroying the entire world. At the same time, saving a human life is like saving the entire universe. For me, the universe was made. In other words, you matter. You are special, as my old hero, Fred Rogers, would say. And sometimes we need to help each other grasp this. My friend Julie told me about a tradition in her family. When someone reached a milestone in their lives, she said, graduation, retirement, a special birthday, they would throw a big party for that person. And they would string up a set of colored lights that were shaped like limes. Each little bulb was shaped like a lime, and the person would sit underneath this string of lights, and then they were in the limelight, as you might see. This became a ritual for them. Simple, corny, and very effective. When you were in the limelight and you were appreciated and loved for your gifts, you knew it. We all need to have this. We all need moments when people celebrate us and when it needs to be about us. And we also have moments when we feel worthless, when we need someone to remind us that we are beloved children of God. This ritual reminded her family of both. Now, the other slip, "I am but dust and ashes," comes from the book of Genesis. God is about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham is pleading with him not to do it. "I am dust and ashes," said the great prophet, "but if I can find 50 other people who are righteous in all the little towns around here, will you spare us?" God listens to Abraham and spares everyone. And the rabbi said sometimes when faced with a challenge, it's our humility that saves the world. It can even change the mind of God. I am but dust and ashes. In other words, you are in most significant ways like everybody else. You and I were born and we will die. Things that happen don't happen because we deserve them or because we are good or bad. They just happen. It's not personal. It's not about you. Now, I would submit that even more than the message about the universe being made for us, the message that we are dust and ashes is the harder of the two for us to remember. We do, after all, have trillion-dollar industries delivering up the message that the world was made for us. Buy this $300 blouse because you deserve it. You and your needs are the center of the universe. Let's say that you click on the blouse, which I may or may not have done. And then you leave your little shopping reverie and then go to the next website. And the next website you go to and everyone after that, no matter how serious or spiritual you are, that blouse follows you wherever you go. It has brought along several blouse companions in case you like one of them better, maybe. Some of the best minds in computer science have been put to the task of creating these algorithms, these cookies, these reminders that you wanted something and you deserve it. It is a task, it is a lesson, it is a thing we need to deal with all throughout our lives. Now, for contrast, our reading today comes from the Taoist tradition, and it is by the poet Chuang Tzu, the poem of the woodcarver. We can imagine so well the dilemma of the woodcarver even centuries later. His story is at the heart of how difficult it is to hold these two messages at the same time. The universe was made for me. I am special. I am unique. And I am but dust and ashes. I'm an ordinary person, and I will die. The woodcarver is very special after all. He gets picked. He gets chosen to make the statue. Money and prestige are his, or they will be if he measures up. And so a lot of pressure comes with that specialness, right? Displeasing the prince, failing in his assignment. It's like any high stakes venture that you've made, any time that you have put your heart into your work, and failure means death, or you think it does. And what does Chuang Tzu recommend in such a situation? He recommends forgetting yourself. A very strange practice to modern people, I think. It is a practice of merging with something larger. The woodcarver had a discipline and a sense of trust in his process of carving that comes from many years of practice, many years of working with a mentor, perhaps, or a community, and devoting himself to something that is beyond himself. And in so doing, forgets himself. I asked Genevieve once how she could do what she did for Lou, her husband, day in and day out. And she shrugged, I just have to. I know he would do it for me. It had become, I think, a practice of forgetting herself. Not entirely. She needed the other slip of paper, of course. She needed nurturing and validation and shelter. She needed someone to tell her that her gifts were valued, a little limelight. But we also have to remember, I think we come best into balance when we use our gifts in service of something more than just ourselves. Genevieve might say that giving yourself to something that you love is what life is for. We go through trials. The people of the Twin Cities in Minnesota are going through one right now. In fact, the world is going through this long, long trial of Derek Chauvin, the police officer who murdered George Floyd last year. And because the world turned out in protest for months after his murder last year, the world is watching. The trial has been showing incredibly damning evidence given by fellow police officers, including the chief, and yet it is difficult, it is painful to think about hope, that something will change. We've seen this show before. In St. Louis, we've seen it, and how much we wanted to hope. As all this is happening, in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, 12 miles from where I grew up, another police officer pulled over another young Black man. And when he got back into his car against her command, she mistakenly pulled out her gun when she meant to use a taser and killed him. And just like before, the official response is the same. Humanize the police officer. Help us to see how such a mistake could happen. It's such a difficult job. She's 20 years on the force. And just like we saw before, there is an equal and opposite response to paint Dante Wright in inhuman terms. That either he was colossally stupid, why didn't he just comply? Or he was a criminal. He had a record, after all. Here we go again. Lather, rinse, repeat, nothing changes. It's hard to keep paying attention through all of this. It's hard to keep fighting and believing. Now, speaking personally, I have not been dealing with this matter of fear of police violence my entire life, this danger of being stopped by police. I have not heard these stories since I was born. Like most Americans, it really came to my attention about 10 years ago when we started using cell phones and capturing such acts on film. 10 years, just 10 years. And I am tired. And there are people of color who have been hearing these stories all their lives. It's happened to if you're a person of color, it's happened to your cousin, your friend, your parents, their grandparents. And you've had to be coached by your parents how to respond to the police and remain alive. And yet, these are the very people who are protesting and organizing, showing up again, calling their representatives, calling the city again, raising money to support Dante Wright's loved ones left behind. Again, it is the kind of person that I want to be. All of these kinds of trials, caring for our loved ones in difficulty and illness, living through a plague, the struggle for racial justice, these trials of life, they're always harder and they take longer and are more complicated than we ever think. The fixes we crave just don't work. They're not enough. It is somehow we who have to be enough, isn't it? It is we who have to be more and somehow give more and endure more and speak out more than we ever bargained for. We want to quit. And just that moment, right, of quit or don't quit, that moment is what calls for spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity means our ability to be the kind of human beings we want to be when it is difficult and it really matters. To deal with the so much harder than I thought parts of life. We want to be the people who can respond to suffering with compassion, with caring, with not backing down and not letting evil win. We need spiritual practice to get there. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be something you might find on the usual list of things like meditation or yoga, though both of these are good. It could just be a practice of leaning on your faith. Faith, Rabbi Nickerson said, in something more than just yourself, be it your morals and convictions, the community that helps you remember them and keep them, a community that holds you in place. Lean on this. A practice of leaning on it. A practice of creating and participating in rituals that gain meaning over time. It could be a practice of silence. Just sitting and looking out the window instead of at your phone. I am finding one of the more challenging spiritual disciplines of my life. But it's enough, I think. Anything that lets you quiet down and find that inner voice, that sense of guidance and strength that you need. It could be a practice of connecting with something larger than yourself. Nothing like looking up at the stars or walking in a beautiful wood to shake this feeling that life is somehow about you. It could be a practice of finding joy and sharing it with someone else. It could be a practice of friendship and generosity. This week, I heard a story about Martin Luther King. Dr. King would call the person that he called his minister, Mahalia Jackson, the great gospel singer. And he'd call her when he was feeling desperate, even at 4 a.m. And she would answer and she would sing his favorite hymn to him, Precious Lord. And so many practices in that little story. The practice of music, the discipline that takes, the commitment to friendship, the practice of being vulnerable with another person, the practice of generosity. How many times have you offered to have someone call you at 4 a.m? And how many people would you actually call? It takes practice. What is yours? And if no practice comes to mind, what would you like your practice to be? What's the one thing that you could do to start? Friends, may we learn and grow and not quit together. It's not about us. Isn't that a relief? Amen.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round, oh my soul, friends to me gathered round, oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, to love and to all friends I will sing, to love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, with thanks unto the end I will sing.
Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated in us, be in us and among us, now and always. Go in peace. Amen.